Good evening. This is Marlene Hurd, and you're watching Sharing Stories. This evening, we're going to be interviewing Tracy Jenkins, and Tracy is an educator and humanitarian, and Tracy articulates his views on sagging pants. Wow. Now, according to Tracy, sagging pants, as defined by the Urban Dictionary, is hip-hop and gangster cultural fashion, wearing one's pants below the level of the waist, sometimes below the level of the buttocks, with one's boxer shorts showing. Wow. Well, Tracy, thank you for being on the show tonight.
Thank you for having me, Marlene.
Now, the reason why I wanted you on the show is this is a topic that I've been wanting to really talk about. One, not realizing why men do it. And I want you to share your view on why you started this, what inspired you to do this documentary.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, I would just like to say that it's not just men that do it. Mm-hmm. I think it's just young people in general.
Okay.
Well, not just say young people. There's people in society in general who wear their clothes in this manner. For me, the thought just came to me. I just woke up one morning and was like, "This sagging pants. Why are the young people doing this?" And at the time, I was an educator at a charter school here, locally here in Oakland. And I used to see the young men and the young ladies walking around with their pants like that, and I would constantly tell them, pull your pants up, pull your pants up. So they would do it in my presence, but then they would walk away. And so being around them, as much as I was, it dawned on me that the young people, I like to call what they have a microwave mindset. They need stuff instant. So you can tell them, but then they'll do it, and you're present, and they'll just walk away. So my thing was to try to put something together to show them why this is detrimental, not just telling them, but show them why. And the idea started from there, and this was in 2009.
Okay.
So we're at 14 now, and so it was a 3-4 year process for me to put this film together. I finished my final editing in November of 2013.
Okay, so that's great. Now, talk a little bit about the journey. Why, when, how, any opposition, people you've interviewed. Talk a little more about that.
Well, initially, when I started this process, I had no kind of film background. I hadn't taken any classes in college or anything. So what I initially did was I started volunteering at film festivals. I volunteered at the American Black Film Festival in South Beach, Miami. I volunteered at the San Francisco Black Film Festival. And through these festivals, I was able to network and meet people, get an idea of how to structure it and find out things about the industry or how to put the film together. And then that along with reading books.
And reading books. Yes. Oh, what I'm hearing is something that you were passionate about doing. You didn't know how to do it, but you made it happen.
Right. I just went out there where there's a will, there's a way. So when I first started, my first interview actually was with a camera that I borrowed from someone. And I didn't even have the setting correct on there, but it got the ball rolling for me.
So, and one of the things I want to ask you is, on your material, you talk about health hazards to this dress style.
Well, the one thing that I found out in researching this project with the sagging pants, there's a multitude of areas in which to address this, and one of them was the health thing. And I went on the internet and I found this gentleman, Aaron Parnell. He's out of San Mateo here locally, and he's a posturist. And he did articles on sagging pants and how it's detrimental to your health. It causes knee problems, back problems. And it's not it's not the sagging pants that causes the problems. It's the fact that you have to walk a certain way. He describes it in my video as you have to walk like a duck, and you're hunched over. And if you do that for so long, it's not good for your back, not good for your knees. It's just not good for your posture in general. So that was the health aspect of it.
And so when you're presenting this documentary,
Yes.
what has been your response, your reactions?
The response has been all across the board. Older people, of course, or people who don't wear their clothes in this way, they applaud it. Even some of the younger people who wear their clothes in this manner, the reaction has been mixed because a lot of the things I point out in the video, they weren't aware of. Like they didn't realize that this was a health hazard, or they didn't realize that the police may look at you a certain way, or they didn't realize that when you go on a job interview that you shouldn't wear your clothes this way. They didn't realize that first impressions were that important.
Right.
And so when they've gotten their wake-up call, so to speak, then they've been receptive to it. But then there's always people who, regardless of how much things make sense to them, they're not gonna, it's not gonna apply to them. I mean, he doesn't know what he's talking about or whatever, but so, you know, it's been mixed, but I'm happy with the overall response.
Okay.
And,
Now, on your website, the one thing that really captured my attention is, in fact, I think I have that here. There is a picture of Dr. Martin Luther King walking with a bunch of other civil rights leaders.
Right.
And it says, when they took us seriously. That captured my attention. And I want you to talk a little more about why that picture.
Well, I chose that picture because the era in which we live in now, we have a African American president. There are so many opportunities for African Americans that I don't feel like a lot of times the young people aren't taking advantage of.
Okay.
And that picture with Dr. King and those gentlemen there, that's just showing how they were fighting for those things. They were, it was their hope that one day we would have this opportunity that are presented to us now, and the young people aren't, a lot of them aren't taking advantage of it. And so that's why I use that picture, just to capture the attention, just to point out in my way, look, there's opportunities out here for you. People fought for these things.
Right.
And you aren't taking advantage of it.
Right. And you're right.
Well,
You're absolutely correct. But we want them to realize that what they're doing, we want them to see the effect from it. When you've done this in the community, where have you done it in the community?
well, I've gone to community centers. I've gone to a lot of programs that are geared to working with young people.
Okay.
I've done some things at the probation departments, but mostly programs that work with young people currently that are trying to get young people who may have going in the bad direction or the wrong direction. This is, my film has helped them see that these are things that maybe they should address as well.
Okay.
Like I mentioned earlier, as far as young people, a lot of times they don't realize first impressions are lasting impressions.
Exactly.
And so that's one of the things that I would like for them to take from my film is that first impressions are lasting impressions. And I like to, throughout the film, which is only 30 minutes, I shortened it on purpose because, you know, I didn't want to sit there and bore people, or bore the young people. And so my thing was just to hit them quick and hit them fast and hit them with what I like to call my food for thought. Just give them something to think about when they leave out. Whether they agree or disagree,
Yeah.
it's just something to think about.
Yeah. So, and you're right. It is something to think about. And when I met you and learned about this, one of the things that I used to always say is, what's on your material is this. There are members of society who have seen this fashion in public and wanted to say something, but feared the potential of retaliation. That was me.
Well, yeah, well, that was
me.
That was just a true statement because when I was putting this together, I was thinking about my target audience, and you know, you see young people out in regular walks of life and just walking down the street or something. You can't really walk up to that person because you don't know if, you know, they may look at you like, who are you to tell me how to dress? That's what I think. So that's why my target has been these programs that are already trying to make strides with these young people and pointing out things to them and I hope to eventually start getting to the schools more so. I've had a few roadblocks with the schools because I've had people, the gatekeepers I call them, they've had problem with some of the dialogue in the film.
Okay. Oh, in
Yeah,
what
because
area?
there's mentions of, when the people that are interviewing the film, it was just a spontaneous reaction to the question I asked them. And sometimes people would say that, from what they understand, this fashion statement started as in the jailhouse as a homosexuality thing in the jailhouse. And so some people have issue with that. So to combat that, I have 3 different versions of the film now. So I have film because I feel like it's so important, other points that are made in the film.
Yes.
I didn't want to be ostracized and not be able to address this in schools too, because I feel like that's a niche that needs to be informed or enlightened about the sagging pants.
Okay, so now, as much as you've getting the information out there, what has really just been the target audience?
Well, to be honest, the target audience is all young people, just universal worldwide.
Right.
But
ideally, would you want to like go into the churches?
Well, I've gone into some
sector?
churches. I've gone into some churches. I've gone into some different programs. Like I said, I've been to some schools, but they have issue with some of the content in the film. So I put together a version where I'm going to go back and go back to these same people and let them see that I've made some changes in the film, because universally people have loved the film. It's just a few little scenes that they've had issue with when they've had issue with the film. But I just had a teacher recently tell me that he wished that he could show this film, but there's just some of the things that are addressed in the film. He just feels uncomfortable, and he doesn't think that the powers that be would be okay with that.
I appreciate that. Okay, so one thing I like is this. And how did you get this idea?
That's just something that came to me. It was just, just an old school TV, and just wanted to put that in there. And I just wanted something just basic, direct and to the point. So you got a picture of a television saying that this is a documentary by Tracy Jenkins, showing a young person with their pants sagging. So I just wanted to just there's no question what this film is about. I didn't want to have to talk in any metaphors or anything like here it is.
Right. But the cool thing about it, it has rabbit ears.
Yeah, well, it's an old school TV.
It's an old school TV.
That came about because the young people may feel like this is coming from an old school point of view. Because if you're 30 or under, this is something that just the young people do. But if you're 30 and over, for the most part, your maturity and your life experiences are such that okay, it's a time and place for everything.
Right. And then when you did the documentary, did you research the history? When did this all come out? When did they start sagging their pants?
Well, it's funny you asked me that question, because when I first started this documentary, there was a number of different directions I wanted to go with it. Initially, I was going to do one where I was going to go from the 1910, the 1920s, 1930s, and to show different fashion statements there. And then it was like, well, no, that's not going to, I mean, I could have gone that way, but then the film was going to be too long, because you'd have to explain each one. And so what I decided to do was just keep it as a modern thing and just address all the issues that modern society may have with this sagging pants, as far as employment, police officers. I got politicians in there. I even got statements from our commander-in-chief. He spoke on this.
Wow.
Yeah, so I just tried to, enlighten and inform as best I could, try to address it from as many different angles as I could, try to leave no stone unturned.
Okay, so in your promoting your work and getting it out in the community. I think I remember seeing that, your presentation style. How do you go about doing that?
Well, being a former teacher, I just try to be direct to the point. You know, I have some handouts where when I do a presentation, I just have a handout where I ask the young people to take a stand on something you saw in the film, whether you agree or disagree with it, and write that down, and then let's talk about it afterwards. Just keep it just plain and direct to the point. Like, okay, you see something in the film, whether you agree with it or not, you got an opinion about it. This is America. We all have opinions. So
Right.
let's just talk about it from that point.
So, have you encountered any controversy in doing this documentary?
Well, like I said earlier, the only controversy I've had is like some of the people in my original version of the film made references to homosexuality.
Okay.
And so I've heard that, some groups weren't able to use it because they're saying that people who choose to live their life that way, I'm not including them some kind of way. But I don't look at it that way because I'm just, the people that are just speaking on how they feel about it and what their understanding of where this fashion statement came from. Because there's others in the film that mention that this fashion statement goes back to slavery times.
Really?
And so, it's just all opinions. And so my whole objective with this film was just to get as many different relevant objectives or opinions and let people decide for themselves.
Oh, okay. I can see that. So let's shift and let's talk about some of the people that helped you with this project.
Okay.
Like Chris Nichols. Talk about him.
Oh, okay. Well, Chris Nichols, he was very instrumental and important to this project because, for one, I know Chris for over 20 years. We go back to San Jose State together.
Okay.
And when I first initially started this project, I asked all my close family and friends, would they like to share their opinion on camera talking about these sagging pants, and no one took me serious except for Chris. And so when I told Chris about it, he was like, man, let's do it. And what's great about Chris too, he's an Iraqi war veteran, and when I interviewed him, he had just gotten back from a deployment maybe 6 months prior to that.
Okay.
And so for him to see this after being in combat, coming in, he has some very strong words and opinions about this. So.
And what is Chris doing now?
Oh, he's retired Army.
He's retired Army.
Yeah, he's retired Army. And when I go around to different places, he's come to accompany me and he shares his opinion as well. Yeah.
And then what about Marlene Banks?
Julian Banks, she's a playwright from Akron, Ohio. And I found Jolene, she was on the internet. She did a stage play called Boys Pull Your Pants Up. And so she has very strong opinions about it. It bothered her as well. She wrote a book about this. She did a stage play. And she has a feature-length film on this topic as well.
Oh, she does?
Yes.
Okay.
Not in the manner in which I did it. She did it as a movie thing where she was pointing out ways or reasons why young people shouldn't dress this way.
Okay. Now, is this something that's on your website?
Yes. Julene's link, the link to
your
her,
website?
yes, is on the website.
Okay. And then what about Dwayne Caraway?
Dwayne Caraway, he is a city council person in the city of Dallas, Texas. He was instrumental. He was one of the first politicians to come out and speak on this. Okay. They have a billboard campaign actually in Dallas where they have billboards addressing this issue, telling young people, "Mama said pull your pants up," that sort of thing. He's a strong advocate of it, and he's worked with one of the local rappers there, Dooney the Priest. They did a video. That link is also on my page where he addresses this as well.
Okay, now, did they do something in terms of legislation around this?
Well, as far as legislation, that would be my man Gary Sipling. He's a state senator out of Florida,
okay.
And they did an actual law where they address this in the schools in the state of Florida.
Okay.
Where it's, if I remember correctly, the first offense you get you get a warning, and then the second offense, you have to bring your parents to school, and then your parents are going to be told that you're breaking the law. And then after that, I think you're suspended from any extracurricular activities at your school.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty serious.
Yeah, that's real serious.
Pretty serious.
And so there are other cities and states in the country that have laws on this as well.
Like which states?
In Michigan, I know in Louisiana there's laws. Yeah, so I mentioned some of that stuff, but I was able to actually talk to Gary about this, and so yeah, he addresses it in the film as well. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. And then what about Bobby White?
Bobby White, he's a educator out of Memphis, Tennessee, and what brought me to his attention now, my mom gets Essence magazine, and there was an article in him about Essence, about him in Essence magazine, and essentially how he was able to address the issue in the school that he worked at was they did a thing where they would urkel the young people, which would be pulling their pants up and having them walk around that day looking like the character Steve Urkel from the TV show. And so doing that, he said for about a month and a half, they were able to address the issue and do away with it in their school. So he was important, I felt, to have his point of view and how he addressed it and how he was able to eliminate that problem in his school.
So, in looking at all of this, I'm fascinated that I met you.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And that you are educating me, a grandmother and a mother and a student activist on the subject.
Well, that was my whole objective, was just to enlighten and inform people. Like I was saying earlier, the young people may not have even been aware that this was bad or detrimental to them. There's a lady in the film, she's a school principal out of Indiana, saying how when young people come to this school with their pants all sagging and looking unkept like that, the principal, the teachers, the secretary, they have a whole idea of how they're going to treat this person because, in their opinion, in her opinion, I should say, they're not taking school very serious. And so then they're going to be treated as such.
Right.
And unfortunately, there's people in the society who may look at young people like that, and unfortunately, that was kind of I'm not saying that's directly related to that Trayvon Martin situation, but that didn't help.
It did.
People, you look at people and you come up with they come up with ideas in their head and stereotype people.
Wow. So, I had 2 more questions and we're gonna wind down.
No problem.
Most importantly, how does someone reach you and get a chance to see the documentary?
Well, right now, I'm on tour with it, I call it. Like I'm a rock star or something, but I can be reached at, my website is www.pullyourpantsup.info. All one word. Or my website, or I can be reached at Tracy J, TRACYJ 27 at hotmail.com.
Okay. And one other question. In your views and the way that you present everything, making sure that the sensitivity behind the discussion is one that is not negative but very positive,
right?
In a way to where we want to encourage dialogue, and we don't want to offend anyone.
Well, that's the reason why I made 2 or 3 different versions. I have a censored version, an uncensored version, and then I have what I guess would be a PG version that I'm putting together so I can address this in the schools, because I think this is a subject that needs to be addressed. A lot of times young people, they don't know. If you don't know, how would so.
Okay. So,
and I look at it, if not, why not me?
Right. Well, Tracy Jenkins, thank you for being on Sharing Stories. And this is I believe, going to be a rocket,
Well, I appreciate your
and
confidence
it's
in me.
about to launch. And I'm really hoping that you get this on more campuses, in churches, in our community.
Well, I appreciate your support.
And I want to thank you for being on Sharing Stories. Sharing Stories, ladies and gentlemen, is a show where we bring people on who are talking about things they're doing in the community where they're making a difference. If you think that's you, contact us and we can get you on board. Thank you for watching Sharing Stories.
Thank you.